go to our website, soright.com, and it's all right there. But instead of thinking it's too good to be true, we got it all. But at the end of the day, we are here to save lives. Okay.
Hey, everybody. People over with Corrections Unfiltered. You just met Autumn Ryan, and Autumn is the CEO of a company called SoRite. And she and her team are here today to tell us about a product that they made that's going to mitigate and neutralize fentanyl. You know, a dose less than a few grains of salt is actually killing our staff. We have got to start protecting them. Autumn and her team took that challenge on, and they've developed a product that we're going to showcase tonight so that you can see how this product is going to neutralize fentanyl and create a safe environment for the cleanup and for the mitigation of fentanyl. As always, please like, please subscribe, give comments, and let's get in this conversation with Autumn and her team. Hey, everybody. We have an outstanding cast tonight. Alishia McColl from CODIN is here. Alishia, how you doing, ma'am?
Good evening.
It's always good having you here. Thank you for jumping in. And we always have Charlie Bueno. Charlie, how are you?
Good. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you all.
Miss Autumn Ryan, how are you, ma'am?
Hello. Great. Thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
It's great to have you here, ma'am. We do thank you. Would you like to go ahead and introduce your team?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Autumn Ryan. I'm the founder, CEO of SoRite. I have Blake Bernard, my COO, and then I have Bob Sorensen, my Director of Strategic Partnerships and Liaison here.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you back, Bob. I think we talked to you one time before. It's good to have you back.
Absolutely.
We'd like to have your team give us a rundown on the product that we're going to talk about tonight.
Absolutely. Blake, this is your baby. I'm going to have you talk about Decon.
Yeah. So the product we're talking about tonight is SoRite Decon. So it is a ready-to-use solution for field use that, when applied properly, can oxidize and neutralize fentanyl, opioids, heroin, cocaine, meth, and xylazine. So the method of operation of Decon is, once the narcotic is dissolved inside of our solution, that's where the oxidation occurs. So when we say oxidation, it's basically breaking down some of the chemical bonds inside of that narcotic and effectively rendering it harmless for you. So, comparing our product to current products on the market in the decon space, like they have hazmat, decontamination products that are, they're multi-components. You've got a mix. A lot of them are acid based. So, when you apply it to the narcotic, it kind of dissolves right there on the spot. The decon works a little bit differently. It's got to the narcotic has to get dissolved or basically disappear inside of our solution. So once it dissolves, then that's when the magic of the oxidation really happens. So, one of the limiting factors is how much can we dissolve?
You're not from corrections. What was it that made you so passionate about wanting to jump in the corrections field and provide this product?
Originally, I created the product as a disinfectant. But then we had a very extremely fast disinfectant time. And so we kill bacteria and viruses in 15 seconds. I was approached by a sheriff and was asked, what does this do to fentanyl? Now, this was back in 2020. And at that time, I had no idea about fentanyl. It was just coming around in the public eye. And I said, I don't know. So I started to talk to my chemist more. And they said, with sodium chloride, it's a very strong oxidizer, will annihilate it. So I'm like, okay. But then we went in and we tested at an EA lab, originally first at 10 minutes. And we did H1 NMR testing, and we took care of it in 10 minutes. We then went back at 60 seconds and we took care of it at 60 seconds. I then tested xylazine and heroin, same kind of results. We then came back in a couple of years later, and we tested it with LCMS at MRI Global. And here we are. We tested cocaine, meth, heroin, and fentanyl and xylazine. And so that's how we ended up getting into the public safety world. So started off as a disinfectant, and now here we are in fentanyl, and the rest is history.
So your product, what you're explaining, does that neutralize fentanyl? Is that the right words I would use?
We like to say oxidize. With the sodium chloride, it's an oxidizer.
Oxidation, basically, an oxidizer will break down the chemical bonds of the target compound. So, when applied properly, yeah, I mean, to your question, Charlie, when applied properly, it will neutralize that fentanyl. It will break it down. So the reason we kind of say oxidize, like and we'll talk about that some more, it's making sure you use it properly. You would get a full neutralization. But the oxidation is the method of action.
One of the things that I noticed moving from prison to prison and seeing these protocols that were in place was a lot of times the staff members didn't really understand the capabilities and what it was designed to do. And there were times when these types of products were being utilized, but they were being utilized outside the context they were supposed to be utilized in. What that did was it lowered staff's belief or trust in it. That's why I really appreciate you saying that it's oxidized, which is different from neutralized. So thank you for that.
Yes, I mean, I'll say this, Pete, on like in field testing, if you would go and do, take your standard strip test and it'll pop positive for fentanyl. Once you would apply the product properly and then retest, it will not pop positive for fentanyl. So the oxidizing is there, but it is taking the fentanyl away. So I don't want to suggest that it's not working, because it definitely is. We kind of use the word oxidize because that's our method of action.
Yes, and then I just wanted to ask for the product that you are sharing with us today. Is it a streamline saturation, or is like a vapor saturation? What would the customer expect
No,
in its
yeah,
application?
that's a really good question. So I mean, I'll spray it. It's more of a mist. So it's not a stream. It's more of a it's a BOV canister. The nice part is you can spray this thing upside down. The way the technology works, like aerosols, you have to have right side up. These you can actually spray upside down. So it's a particular type of spray application. But to your point, Alishia, you wouldn't really, like, if you had a powder or even a surface with trace amounts, you wouldn't want to stream it, right? You don't want to have any direct force on the narcotic, because that could make it go airborne. So really, a lot of our training protocols, even on this, we don't want you to come right up to it. We want you to kind of stand back and let it kind of soak. It's kind of called the rain down effect. So you kind of,
Okay.
I can't do it here, but you spray it out and let it gently saturate, as opposed to a forced stream. So a lot of the exposures are accidental. So, a lot of it is you make that narcotic go airborne. So a lot of our protocols that we've developed around the product are trying to reduce that exact risk.
Great. And so I see this as something that could be potentially like an effective tool for response teams that are going in an area of suspected fentanyl as a safety tool when they're walking in. And so I just want to clarify, in its application, you kind of have recommendations. How many feet back is your recommendation for its application to the product itself?
As far as spraying the product to a surface, we recommend a foot. Just to give it that. Now, I think your questions, though, is a little bit more of what's the safe distance for the operator when assessing the scene. So, I mean, first things first, before you ever walk into that scene, you need to have the proper PPE, because that's, you're going to have to kind of get up on the surface to treat it. So we would want them to don the appropriate protections there. Now, that's not for our product. That is really for the fentanyl threat and the narcotic threat. But as far as our spray application, we recommend 12 inches. But the other thing, the other aspect of the protocol is we have sachet wipes. So out in the field, what you would do is take the sachet wipe out. If you had a visible powder, you would actually cover the powder. So that's kind of trapping it in there. And then you spray the powder through the wipe. So that you can get really close up on it and kind of be intentional on where you saturate, but you don't have that airborne issue. So that's kind of the flagship decontamination protocol, is we call it cloak it, soak it, bag it, right? So cloak it, soak it down, pick it up, and dispose of it in your biohazard bags.
If I'm understanding, Blake, this really is designed for grab and go. This is to be used in the field. Okay, that's great.
And one other thing that we always like, that really hits home with people is, do you decon? Before you go home to your loved ones, do you decon? 99% is no. The residual on your boots when you go home, on your gear, you can use our product and spray down your boots. And it's all non-corrosive, it's non-toxic, it's safe on surfaces. And so it's as simple as spraying your boots down, spray your gear down, spray your clothing down. and before you go home to your loved ones. So again, what one of our social media posts that really has hit home is, do you decon before you come home? It's as simple as a spray down. So
That is extremely important because I became aware of a situation in which there was a response to a cell and the inmate had fentanyl and the cell had fentanyl in it. And everybody who was a responder eventually had to take that individual out to the local hospital, but they took traces of the fentanyl with them. When they
yeah,
got to the hospital, they exposed the nurses. When they went home, they exposed their families. So this is extremely important to understand that there's secondary and there's other residual things that are going to come from this. And that's why I'm so thankful that you guys have come up with this. And I think it's brilliant that you cover it with a towel and then you spray the towel and let that soak through and get to it, because that's going to keep it from getting out in the
Yeah,
air.
and that's on the
Kudos to
visible
you.
powder, right? I mean, to
Right.
Autumn's point, if you don't have visible powder and it's trace amounts, like there's a couple specks here and there or residues, it's as simple as wet down the surface thoroughly, let it sit for 60 seconds.
yep.
So the non-visible powder scenario is super user friendly. And then if you get that situation with the powder, is one extra step, just more for protection than anything else.
So, myself, I had a secondary exposure to evidence handling for fentanyl. And it was a very humbling and harsh reality of the dangers that we work in corrections. And essentially, what I had been handling was uh, drug contraband that had been laced with fentanyl. And that just split second of distraction in my handling was all that it took for that secondary exposure to occur. And I was immediately in distress and fear set in. I was very fortunate that day to have staff response, and that was the application of multiple doses of Narcan on my behalf and a transport to the hospital. That happened in May of 2023. So I am very passionate about the priorities of fentanyl safety in corrections facilities. And that's where it definitely had an interest tonight to sit in and just to learn about your product and how it could be applied. And there's so many different scenarios of where this could be used to increase staff safety. Huge.
Absolutely.
I could see this being very useful in transports between county
Yes.
and state facilities, just
Yep.
as a way to decon the areas of transport, because sometimes you don't know exactly potential contraband that somebody's concealing or carrying. So that's a really great point that you made, Autumn. I like that. I
And
do.
here's the thing is it's all fragrance free as well. I mean, again, when can you sit here and spray your hands and smelling it? Yeah, I mean, it's simple as a spray, and wiping it down. I mean, it's so easy, out of sight, out of mind, right? It's as simple as just spray and go kind of thing. So on the residual side, absolutely. So again, I really push it. There is new technology out there, people. New technology.
That was one of the big things, Pete, when I started. Remember how we always were taught, never wear your boots inside the house because of the little kids? And we never thought about the drugs. We always thought about the blood and all the other stuff that we'd always get into. But I always took my boots off in the garage. Never wore my boots in the house because of little kids crawling on them. And if I had this product back then, 100%, man, I'd be spraying my stuff because this is way more deadly than anything that we would have walked into back then.
Just spraying the back of your cruisers down. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the vehicles, anything. It's so simple.
So that's fantastic that you have a handheld dispenser that could take care of those situations. Do you have any other way you could distribute it so maybe it covers a larger area?
It also comes in 32, just standard disinfectant bottle size, 32-ounce containers. Then it comes in gallons as well. So if you want to put that into a pump sprayer, for grab and go, all those formats are there.
You could use this as a preventative measure, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Preventative to try and take that narcotic away. That's right.
Got you. Okay. Myself as an officer, what would be some of the important safety key points that you would explain to me about your product?
Ooh. So I'll talk about the safety profile on it. So it's all non-toxic. We are all non-reactive. We're non-flammable. We're non-corrosive. We are ready to use. We are, the 60-second, oxidation time. And compared to our competition, where They're the 3-part system. You saw right here where we're able to just spray. No, when you're using the product itself requires no PPE. We're actually a category 4 on the safety profile. So, but obviously when you're handling, narcotics and fentanyl, PPE is required. So on the safety profile, we're very safe with the solution itself. So that's on the safety side of the product. Blake, you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of take this opportunity to shift two concepts. So one thing we always get a lot is like, how can you be so safe but yet you're so effective on fentanyl, right? They seem like competing thought processes, right? And a lot of that's on the method of action. So in order for a narcotic to be decontaminated with our product, it's got to be fully dissolved in the product. So it's got to basically disappear. So when you correlate that with treating a surface, right? That steel table is not going to dissolve into our product, right? Your skin is not going to dissolve on the product. So the product, the oxidation doesn't work by contact. You actually have to dissolve it all the way through. So it really lets us target what we want to target without targeting kind of the innocent bystander surfaces, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got that. So what you're saying is that when you spray it, it hits the powder, soaks through the powder, and that's what does the oxidation.
Think of it as like, you pour salt into water and you stir it around to where it dissolves and you don't see it anymore, right? Like when you get to that point, that's when the oxidation's happening. So until it fully dissolves, the oxidation's not happening just by it being in contact, if that makes sense.
It does. And I want to jump on something real quick. It just was such a big problem all through COVID, and it still remains a problem in prisons. One of the biggest hurdles that is so difficult to get over is the smell of bleach. Regardless of what was produced to handle COVID or other types of sanitization, people didn't believe it was sanitized because they felt that they had to have bleach. And so I understand it doesn't have an odor, and that's why it's so important that we get the word out and we get the information out so staff understand how it works. That's a great explanation. It has to go in there and dissolve that. We just need people to understand, like you said, Autumn, it's new technology. It's not relying upon an odor. It's relying upon the ability for oxidization. Fair enough?
Absolutely. You're hitting my soul and my heart when it comes to on the cleaning side, because that's my background. I owned a janitorial cleaning company for 25 years. So we've all been brainwashed to think if you smell bleach, it's clean, but no. So no fragrance means it's clean. So you're spot on.
So in regards to the product, if companies, agencies were interested in investing in this as a valuable resource or tool to combat the dangers of fentanyl in our correction setting, do you provide some type of overview training or kind of introduction to the product itself, just so that we can roll that out effectively with our staff when we put it online? What would that look like for us?
So we are actually right now we're in the process and finalizing our training program. So we are going to be training the trainer. We'll also have the online training program, and we'll be hosting training programs here in Nashville. So we're excited to roll that out sometime in January and February. So be on the lookouts for that. But yes, there will be a massive push with training behind us.
So you talked about the use of PPE, not because of this product, but because of what they're going into. Kind of like a firefighter wears a fire suit, not to protect him from the water he's spraying, but protect him from the fire that the water is supposed to put out.
Correct.
And then the different agencies will have their protocols set up on how they respond to fentanyl. And you have different types of dispensers. So you have the personal dispenser that can carry on them, but then you have larger dispensers that can be brought more for a reactionary type thing. So I really believe that this is something that's going to be so versatile and also properly pre-staged in the facility for those responses, say to a mailroom or to a cell or to a day room, wherever the contamination happens to be.
Absolutely. Once we get the word out, I mean, it's funny because once we get in front of them and we start showing them the product and the documentation behind it, and just right here, just speaking about the product, you can literally see everybody's mind just, oh my gosh, we could use this in mailroom. We could use this here. We can use this on boots. We can use this on gear. We can use this. I mean, it's never ending on where we can use a product like this, right? So yeah, it's very exciting on what new technology can do in the field. And over years and years of lacking new technology, it's finally here.
Is there any way that this product should not be used?
I think the big answer is any way you use it, it's not going to hurt, right? But I think there's definite limitations on how much narcotic the product can handle. You know, so we've done some pretty extensive LC mass testing, and which is liquid chromatography mass spectrometry. So it's a $4 word, but basically gives us a quantitative analysis of, we start with this much of the narcotic. After it's treated, this is how much is left. And so from that testing, like on fentanyl, we take care of 5 milligrams, which is about double the lethal dose. But granted, that's, you know, 30 specks of salt, right? Like that's not a whole lot of fentanyl, but that's still a very lethal dose. On the cocaine and meth, we take care, and that's also a 3-ounce can. So this little guy does that much. So the larger formats would obviously do more. On the cocaine and meth, we're more like a teaspoon with that 3-ounce canister. So, you know, the because it has to dissolve, the dilution is a limiting factor. So if you had kilos and kilos and kilos and kilos of narcotic, that's not what this is intended for, right?
We talked about disposal. Are there any protocols in place to make sure the items that you use to clean it up go into a sealed bag, a sealed container, or do you have to notify the local landfill? Do you have to make sure the health department's involved in the disposal of the products that were used to clean this up? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean that's the cloak it, soak it, bag it. So that bag it step is also, we still want you to discard it as you would any other biohazard, because if for some reason they didn't use quite enough and there's still a small trace amount, we don't just want to throw that in the trash. So it would be bagging it and then disposing of it according to your state and local regulations. So whether that's for incineration or whatever, we still want to follow those guidelines.
Once that oxidization occurs, kind of what I heard from you earlier is it makes that fentanyl essentially, you know, it removes some of the chemical compounds, if I understood correctly. So it's essentially not fentanyl anymore. So that could not go for like a lab test confirmation. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. That's correct. So a couple of scenarios there. So, you know, high level, if you, let's say you had a trace amount, so non-visible powder, but we take just a test strip and it pops positive for fentanyl. Once you properly decontaminate it and then retest it, it will show a negative, right? So
Okay.
we are getting rid of that evidence. So, you know, on a trace amount, and I know there's like, I think Detectachem is some that we've seen in the field. They're designed for the evidence piece of it. So you swab it down, and when it pops positive, it keeps a record of all your, you know, all of that for the evidence piece of it.
So what I feel like this is very useful for your product, right? As investigators, because the goal is criminal referrals when dangerous contraband gets into a correctional setting. But what that is, you know, we have our own fentanyl protocol, as I said. So for that collection and that removal, what I feel like your product is very useful in essentially that decontamination and ensuring that that area is now safe.
That's right.
And so I can see in multiple levels about how we could apply your product in different types of capacities. Like we talked about transports, right? Areas that had been contaminated, making sure that we had gone through the process to properly make sure that it was oxidized and disinfected, as like Autumn had referred to. That's an incredible tool in a correctional setting.
Yeah, and we always say, like, if somebody's going to overdose, they're probably going to overdose. So that's where, like, and that's where Narcan comes in. Like, we're not a Narcan to get you out of the overdose, but really what we're trying to protect is that next person that comes onto the scene, right? So we're really cleaning the scene to where there's not going to be a secondary contamination, either for maybe somebody trying to work on them, you know, or like Autumn mentioned the patrol car. You know, if somebody's in there and comes out, that next person that hops in is now potentially contaminated. So that's really the goal, is to avoid that unintentional secondary exposure.
That's one thing I just want to clear up. Everybody, it out in the field, people are trying to put us in the mass disposal. We are not trying to be in the mass disposal. There's place for other, other products for mass disposal. That is not us. We are over here ready to use, right? We are ready to use, easy to use, and simple to use. So there's that is our position over here. Let us use, in the back of the police cars and the ambulance, secondary vehicles, clothing, and gear. That is where we fit in. Okay. So I just want to get that straight, because that is where everybody, they're just trying to put us in so many different positions. That is where we fit in.
So here's a scenario where this would work. So you have a facility has its own fentanyl protocol. So for example, our fentanyl response requires that it's 2 officers to go into, for example, a cell, and it's full PPE, and it is also with a third observer. So you have a third-party observer that is monitoring the actions of the 2 officers. In the event that there is some type of an exposure to fentanyl, what happens is that observer is not allowed to enter into that cell, right? They have to make a radio notification for medical and additional resources to show up on site before we're going to be able to reach in and pull someone out and give them a lifeline. Here's what I'm thinking. That product, before someone's walking in, if that is something that they are spraying in that vicinity, because cells are very small and condensed, I look at that as a potential life source before that third party is going in to pull someone out safely, because you're oxidizing any of the potential fentanyl in that area, because in an emergency situation, you may not know exactly its location. So an overall spray and oxidizing potential fentanyl in that area is huge. I could see that being very useful in a scenario that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, if it's me, I'm coming in spraying in the air in front of me. And even, even if it hits any airborne particulate, that will also saturate it to where it's no longer airborne. So you could really
Yes.
have 2. It kind of takes care of the airborne risk, but then it's also taking care of the underlying narcotic. But no, I mean, I think, taking a step back, I think the goal in those situations is to get the Narcan administered as fast as possible, right?
Yeah.
So that's the best chance at saving a life. So if you didn't, and I think they're waiting on backup because they're worried about that secondary exposure, right? So you're wasting the precious minutes trying to render your aid. So if you had this at the ready, you would probably not be as cautious about having to have the backup.
Right.
But you could definitely have that protocol in place. I would come in spraying and then spray everything down, spray the body down, everything. They're already there. If it's an overdose situation, it's not going to be a problem to spray them, right? But you're really protecting that healthcare provider that needs to come in and render aid. Like that's really the goal of decon in that situation.
I can see this product being paired in a kit that the officer has on them at all times. So when they're doing a cell shakedown, instead of having this product in the drawer when they actually need it, it's going to be on their person. They'll have, the proper canister of decon. They'll have the wipes. They'll have the gloves. We can pair that with Narcan in the case we do have an accident. But when an officer is shaking down a cell and they come across a substance that they don't know, I'm not going to be worried about the evidence. I'm going to be worried about safety, and staff safety is probably paramount. And that's what this product is 100% for. And evidence is after the fact. So just like what Alishia was saying, is I think it's kind of a 2-part thing. And when we're looking for and we're investigating, we have protocols in place to properly secure that evidence as far as the fentanyl or the drugs go. But when an officer's doing routine cell searches or the mailroom officers opening up mail, this product is all about that staff safety. And I think that is where this product fits.
Well, I think this is a highlight point. I can tell you just from my location in our mail process, it's very high risk in the mailroom. And so, and as it stands, the methods that we go through to ensure contraband doesn't make it into our facility still requires our officers to handle that mail. So I just think about this as a tool, what that could look like for us, a longer process, right? Of like how we would actually handle this mail. Would we maybe be spraying this product before anybody touches it, let that sit, and now we're going to handle it? I mean, I could see that something that could be a big conversation piece for us in our area.
We have had departments use our product in different mailroom screenings, and we've partnered up with another mailroom screening company. And they, because that was the number one question. Okay, well, what if we get a hit? Now what? Then what? And there was no product out there. And so until us now, so they're spraying down their mailroom screening equipment. They're spraying down now on a daily basis now, so they can have reassurance that they're being taken care of. So yeah, the word is starting to get out there, and I mean, it's a peace of mind. we are able to give you a peace of mind.
We have a pandemic going on right now, and that's fentanyl. And this stuff is getting sent into our facilities, but the staff safety has to be there. So I appreciate your passion to say work with us, because that's all it really takes. And we need to team up with Autumn and her team so that we can begin to put these things in place, educate the staff so they understand it, let them know what the terminology is and how it works. It's about saving lives. So Right is getting us on the path to doing just that. So if you're a person and you're watching this, hopefully you're going to bring it up to your leadership. If you're a leader, hopefully you're going to bring it up to your procurement. So I would like to ask one last question, if you don't mind, Miss Autumn. What would you all be able to say that you could point a fact to about your product that moves you away from the rest, and why the procurement person and the safety people should team up on ordering your product and getting it in?
Yeah, I think for me, there really isn't a competitor, right? Because the other decon products, like we talked about, are the mixing. Like, they're just not really appropriate for this scenario. So because we're ready to use, it can actually be leveraged in a correctional setting where the others really can't. And as far as having our testing to back it up to show that it actually works, and we've done a lot of studying to figure out where the guardrails are, right? Because we talk about giving a sense of security. We don't want to give a false sense of security. We want you to know exactly how to use it to best keep you safe. But really, to the question about the competitor, there really are none, right? Right now, it's just nothing's being done. There's no solution for the problem.
I would like to add one more thing to that, the non-toxic side, because, obviously some of the prisoners, they may get their hands on this. And if they drink this product or ingest this product of any sort, it's not going to cause any harm whatsoever. So that's another big selling factor. So Right is here to save lives. Okay. Our whole mission statement with So Right is to save lives. And instead of going against us, work with us. Come to us and work with us. And we have the tools. We have the new technology. We have the patents on this. We have the capability to work together to help us complete our mission. And at the end of the day, stop going against us and work together. Think about what we could do together if we worked as a team. All right? That is my biggest message to everybody out there. Is because, haters are going to hate, and it is what it is, but come to us. We have all the documentation. We have nothing to hide. We are real, raw, and transparent. Go to our website, soright.com, and it's all right there. But instead of thinking it's too good to be true, we got it all. But at the end of the day, we are here to save lives, okay? But it just help us help you. That is why we are here. So, yeah.
Well, as we wrap up this conversation, I cannot thank you enough, Autumn, bringing your So Right team on here. Blake, thank you. Bob, thank you for coming on here. It is so important that we do exactly like you said. We go out there and we pick a product that we have confidence in, and we get it in the hands of our staff so they can be as safe as possible. We got through COVID, but now we're having to deal with fentanyl. So let's do the right thing. Let's take a look at this product. Let's bring it in our facility, and let's start saving lives. Let's teach our staff how to use it proactively to make sure when they walk into an environment that they're not sure about, they're going to do it safely. So, Blake, Autumn, Bob, any last comments?
It's so right.
Good one.
Absolutely. Let's save lives. Let's save lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And lastly, if you guys want to get online at soright.com and try some out for yourselves, if you type in the code Corrections Unfiltered, we'll give you a 20% discount. Try it out. We want to get it in your hands and use it.
I was not expecting that. You are going to get a challenge coin now, Mr. Blake. I promise you. Thank you so much.
Hey.
On behalf of Corrections Unfiltered, we say thank you so much, So Right. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.